What's up, guys? Today we're going to go through how to build an Excel dashboard when you're researching stocks, how to automatically have the income statement, balance sheet, pretty much the financial statements automatically update just by simply typing in the ticker of the stock you want. So how this works, so for an example, what I'll show you how to do is right now we have NVIDIA. Up here we have it in the quarterly. Let's say if I wanted to look at another company, we'll go with CCJ. Type in CCJ, and over here I'm just going to connect it to the stock market, and let's say we want to view the annual. So now all I have to do is hit refresh data, and the financial information is automatically pulled. So now we are in the annuals, and this is the CCJ income statement right here, and everything has already been updated. So let's get started. So the first thing I like to do is give myself a little bit of room up top if you're building a dashboard. That way you can connect links between the sheets. That way you don't have to keep coming to the bottom to click it. That can go further in a different video. Right now we're just going to show you how to set up pulling the data from the web, coding it so that all you have to do is stay in Excel and change the ticker. So we're going to go ahead and start with cell A10, and we're just going to type in a ticker. We're going to use NVIDIA again, and then you're going to come up to the data tab, and under the data types you're going to connect it to the stocks. Over on the right side of the screen you have your data selector. We're going to go with the NASDAQ stock market. Alright, extend this over. So now you have this little drop down box where you can import any of these things. So if I click on ticker symbol, it displays to the right over in B10, and I want it underneath of the actual company. So you can change that by either clicking on the cell and dragging it under, or you can simply just type in the equals A10, and then you get the drop down box again. So we're going to go ahead and give us the ticker symbol, and then we're going to go ahead and do the price as well. And then here is where we are going to be creating a little drop down box between annual or quarterly statements, and that will be written in the code and come later on. So the next thing we want to do is create another sheet, and then we want to be able to pull from the web where we're getting our financial statements. So I like to use Wall Street Journal. So we're going to go ahead and get into finding the stock. So let's look up NVIDIA. We need to make sure that we are under the actual spot that you can get it. Otherwise you'll pull up news. Alright, so here we have the URL now. All we need to do is go to the financials, and income statement is where we will start. And then we're going to copy this URL. Come back to our Excel sheet. We're going to come down to cell A10. And then under our data tab, we're going to hit from web, and we're going to paste that URL. And so here you get your document and your table 0. The table 0 is what we want. So we're going to go ahead and click transform data. And then simply to start this off, we can just go ahead and change the name of this to IS, keep it short and simple for the income statement, and get rid of the change type. And then we want to click the drop down box for close and load 2. And then we'll just hit the existing worksheet for where we're going to put the data, and then just make sure that we are on sheet 2. So when we click on cell A10, it displays sheet 2, cell A10, and we're going to hit OK. So now we have the income statement for NVIDIA. Now, what we're going to do next is create one more sheet, and we are going to get our codes. So right here is how to have the code for the ticker automatically updated. So where we just pulled the income statement, we're just going to create an extra little tab for this code, and I can display this also for you guys. Alright, so we're going to copy this code here for the ticker. And for the income statement, we're going to right click on this query. And we're going to edit it. So we're going to hit Advanced Editor. Actually, before we do this, we should go ahead and probably go back to our first sheet. And so where we have on our sheet 1 in A11 where our ticker is displayed, we're going to want to change the range up here. So up here next to the formula box, this is what's called where you can set your ranges. We're going to go ahead and delete A11 and type in ticker with a capital T, and capitalization does matter because if it's not capital or exact, it won't work. So we're going to make sure that that is ticker with a capital T. And now we're going to go back to our income statement. We're going to edit this, Advanced Editor, and then in this code box, we're going to simply just give us one more line of code where we are going to paste this exact right here. And then once you have that in here, you're going to remove the actual ticker from the URL that you are using, and you're going to replace that with quotations and ticker with a capital T and quotations. And that is it. After that, all you have to do is hit done, and then you have a data privacy. Since you're pulling it from the web, you have to set it to public and hit save. And then we're just going to go ahead and hit close and load to. Alright, so now that is set and good to go. Now the next thing we want to do is be able to create a drop-down box here. So what we're going to do now is go to our sheet 3 where we have our codes, and we're just going to give ourselves some space, and we're just going to type in quarter, and then we're going to type in annual. Capitalization does not matter on that. On sheet 1, we're going to go ahead and go to our data tab, data validation, and we are going to click the drop down box for allow a list. And for our source, we're going to click on this and go back to our sheet 3 and highlight both of these boxes, A5 and 6, so that it is registering that we are pulling our source from these two to select for our list. Then we're going to go ahead and hit OK. So now we have a little arrow that I can pick quarter or annual. So we're going to stick with annual for now. Re-click on this box A13 where this is the range, and we are going to change this to period with a capital P and hit enter. And then the next thing to do would be to come over to our formulas and then copy this code, and then we are going to edit our query one more time, Advanced Editor, and underneath the ticker spot we are going to import this. So we have our period equals Excel.CurrentWorkbook. For the name of that range, we have period, and so whatever is typed into that range is going to register for period. So What do we want period to be? We find annual, and we're going to replace that with the quotations and period with a capital P and quotations. So now we have this formula here, and then we are going to hit done. And then we're just going to hit close and load to. And then once this updates here, nothing should change yet because we haven't moved anything. So now all I have to do, if I want this to change to quarterly for NVIDIA, all I have to do is come back to my sheet 1, click this, change this to quarterly, and then I'll, at the data tab for my data, just simply hit refresh all. And now if we go to our sheet 2, you can notice we're now in the quarterly statements for NVIDIA. Now we'll note that 18,120 is the first one here for NVIDIA. So if I wanted to look at a different company now, we'll go with CCJ. We'll click on CCJ to connect it to the stock market. And so now this has changed. And then all I'm going to have to do is hit refresh all. And you notice that the 18,120 is no longer that. It is the CCJ's quarterly statements. And this can work pretty much with anything. When you do balance sheets, for an example, we'll go back to our Wall Street Journal. We'll go to financials and balance sheet. This will display two tables. So when I get the URL for the balance sheet, we're going to go back to our Excel, go down to A10 for our other sheet, from web, paste the URL and hit OK. And it'll pull up with two different tables you can choose from. The best way to have this keep functioning and working is doing one table at a time as opposed to using multiple items, because when you automatically update it in Excel, some cells tend to change and it will not be able to update or change the data. So the simplest way is to do one at a time. So we'll start with table 0. We'll hit transform data. And we will get rid of the change type and replace the name with balance sheet assets, BSA for short. A little drop down for close and load to. And then we're just going to hit our Excel's existing worksheet and make sure to click on the cell A10 and hit OK. We're just going to go ahead and change these sheets names real quick too. So we'll just rename the first one for our main. We'll rename the second one to our income statement. Balance sheet assets. This was our data. And then we are going to create one more sheet, and we are going to call that the balance sheet liabilities. And then we're going to go ahead and get that URL one more time. So go to your data, from web, repaste that URL, hit OK. And now this time, instead of table 0, we're going to hit table 1. Because table 1 is representing the liabilities and table 0 is representing the assets. So we're going to make sure we have table 1 selected this time. Hit transform data. Delete the change type. Rename it. And we are going to close and load to existing. Existing worksheet. A10, balance sheet liabilities, A10, OK. And then all we need to do at this point is to simply come back to the income statement, where we'll go to the edit just to get the code off of this real quick. Advanced editor. I'm going to highlight and copy this code and just hit cancel. Exit out of that. And we're going to update the balance sheet assets and then the liabilities so that these can also automatically be updated. So under our balance sheet assets, we go to advanced editor, and we are just going to give ourselves some space and import that code. And then just like the other one, we have to get rid of the ticker and the period and replace those. So with NVIDIA is now going to be labeled as the ticker, and the annual is going to be labeled as the period. So that your code looks like this. No syntax errors. Hit done. And then simply hit close and load to. And then for the balance sheet, we'll do the same thing. Advanced editor, and we're going to put the code in and get rid of the ticker and period. And hit done, and then the close and load to. Alright, so once that updates, we are now on the quarterlies because we were still under quarter, but it is registering everything is good. So just an example, we're still on the quarterlies for balance sheet assets, quarterly for balance sheet liabilities, and for income statement. So if I wanted to look at the annuals now, all I have to do is simply hit the drop down box, annual, head up to our data tab, and we'll start by going up to our income statement just to show you guys when it changes. Hit the refresh all, and this information now switched over to your annual for CCJ. Same thing with the balance sheet. We're under annual, liabilities, and if you wanted to go ahead with the cash flows, which I assume most would, you will end up making 3 more sheets. I know it's a little bit repetitive and redundant, but it just helps everything flow smoothly. And then after that, you could go ahead and insert, say, a dashboard if you wanted a bar up here where you can then display maybe a logo and connections to different tabs, which I can go ahead and do that in another video if anyone's interested. But as of now, this is just the short and simple way to quickly get the financials without having to go to your data tab and pull everything immediately. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, and if you have any questions, feel free to comment. Thanks.